You may be seated. Kids, y'all come with me. If there are any kids, just the kids. Youngins, you guys come up here. Yeah, there you go. Come on, up here. We're going to get up here. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, get on the other side. Get over the other side of this. I want you to be able to look in there. Get up in here. Yeah, come on. Come. There you go. There you go. Come on up here so you can see. Come on up around here, honey. Some of them taller boys and girls. There you go. Let some of these youngins in. Okay, here we go. Let's come on up here a little. Shh. Have you all ever been on a trip? Anybody been on a trip? I have. Yeah, really? And you went from here to there? Did you ever get on a long trip and you'd ever say these words? Will we ever get? Are we there yet? Yeah. You always wonder. Well, I want to show you. This is what happened when Jesus was a little baby. Whoever can, stick your finger in there and just go blap. Okay. There you go. Yeah. Okay. Now see, what we need to remember is Jesus was born in Bethlehem. Can you say that word? Bethlehem. Bethlehem. Can you say that again? Bethlehem. There you go. Jesus was born and he was about that old or that big. Very small. Okay. Were you all ever a baby? Yes. Oh. Now, let me tell you what. He was born in, where was he born? Bethlehem. But one day, his dad Joseph got a letter from God and said, you've got to get out of here. It's dangerous. Let's go to Egypt. Where are we going to go? Egypt. Put your finger in here. Okay, everybody. And we're going to go. Come on, let's go to Egypt. All right, come on. Wait just a second. Now, come on. Now, see, come on. And where are we now? Egypt. Yes. And in Egypt. And guess what happened? He stayed there. How many's 2 years? Have y'all ever been 2 years old? Anybody ever been 2? Okay. About that age right there was how old Jesus was when Joseph heard God say, it's not safe anymore here. Let's go back to Israel. Where are we going to go? Israel. Where did we start out? Bethlehem. Where do we end up right here? Egypt. And we're going to where? Let's go. And we got up here to Israel. But guess what happened when they got here? Joseph heard from God again and said, it is not safe if you go back to Bethlehem. Where did we start? Bethlehem. And where did we end up? Egypt. And now we're back in Israel. Well, Joseph thought they were going to go back to Bethlehem, but God said, don't go to Bethlehem. I want you to go someplace else, and he will show you the way. And I'll tell you where he says he's going. Shh. He's going to go up to Nazareth. Can you say that? Nazareth. Come on over to Nazareth. And at Nazareth, come on up, honey. At Nazareth, this is where Jesus, who is about her age, grew to be, anybody here that's 12 years old? About that age, grew up in Nazareth and went to the temple. And he stayed in Nazareth for a long time till he got old, about 30 years old. Now, I want to show you something. Where did we start? Bethlehem. Where did we go? Egypt. Came back to Israel. Now, where are we? Nazareth. Okay, let me give you a stamp of a shooting star because a wise man saw a star. Okay. Oh, got a star. Thank you. Okay. A shooting star right there. Hey. Thank you and thank you. All right. I'm going to see if you were listening. Where did we start out? And then where did we end? We had to go out of Bethlehem to somewhere. There you go. And then what happened? Kind of came back to Israel, but whoa! Then where did we go? See, and that's kind of called a journey, isn't it? The whole lesson, all of the lessons today somehow led me to think about this is journey. Blessed are those who trust in God, whose hearts are set. Do you know that psalm? Whose hearts are set on the pilgrim's way. In other words, sometimes all of us are pilgrims to one degree or another. We're heading somewhere. Sometimes we rest along the way, don't we? But ultimately, we're in a journey. For Christians, we have a journey that kind of begins for Episcopalian Christians, at baptism. But before I get into that, I just want to see if there was any chance that anybody saw the Alabama-Michigan State game. Oh, okay. Well, I just wanted to check that out to make sure. One of the things that inspired me about that was that the announcers kept saying that the quarterback of Alabama has had a rough journey over and over and over. Have any of us had rough journeys? Yeah. And we had some lousy journeys. Yeah. I mean, he's had some great journeys. Yeah. Sometimes it's the same people, isn't it? See, we go on a journey, but one of the things about journeys is once we get started, it's very hard. Have you ever found this out to be true? Once we get started, it's tough to go back. You ever found that? But, along with me, how many of you try to every once in a while? But then I discovered when I looked pictures up, I had more hair. I'd love to go back to then. But journeys somehow have a habit of just going on. I've got one more story, and then I'll hurry up and get to the real meat of this. And I had to make a confession to a couple of folks here. It's about a journey of the TCU Horned Frogs. And do you know where TCU is? It's in a foreign country. Yeah. But I did start the game, and it was wonderfully bad. And then about halftime, I said, "That's it. No more. I can't stand it anymore." And so all of a sudden, I prejudged how the ending would come out. Have you ever done that before? We didn't. It ain't over until what? It's over. And sometimes, you see, we stop in our own lives, on our own journey, just a little bit too soon. That's where faith comes in. Well, I was showing my great lack of faith because I turned the TV off, and then I came here this morning, and I was so embarrassed. And I was trying to figure out how to lie to my friends in Fort Worth. But they said, TCU won. I could not believe it. So all of a sudden, these journeys of the football teams, of individual players, baby Jesus, you and me, all of us participate in journeys, a life journey. Some of us, I can see a few people that just may be going to college before long. They're going to be going through some intellectual journeys, okay, among other things. But I think that if we can get a handle on what it means to be on pilgrimage and own it as Christians, we might discover some real power in our lives. Now, I just want to share this. Pick up your bulletin on the collect, and I want to read that again for the collect. You realize that's probably some of the best theology. If you want to know theological stuff, just read and study the collects. That tells you kind of what the church believes. Now, I'm going to read the first up to the colon, all right? And I'm just going to stop, then we'll have you read it, okay? And, oh God, I'm going to read this. O God, who wonderfully created and yet more wonderfully restored the dignity of human nature. Okay, we're not going to go any further than that. Now, you all read that one, okay? Ready? O God, who wonderfully created and yet more wonderfully restored the dignity of human. If I have a suggestion, all of our journey, every day is a new beginning of our journey. It's a continuation, but it is a new way of beginning a new journey. We don't know what's tomorrow going to bring, do we? but we have to step out and go. This little statement, that spirit of this, is a good thing to put in our backpacks or our billfold or our purse, just to remind ourselves, okay? Just to remind ourselves that I am wonderfully created. Now, do you believe that? Okay, let's just, come on, be serious. I am wonderfully created. Whoa. Is that a gift or what? And then when Jesus comes along, He does what? He even more so wonderfully restores the what? Dignity of human nature. How many of us have ever used the phrase, it's just human nature? And we mean by that what? What do we mean when we say, that's just human nature? It's somehow kind of bad, isn't it? Well, there's a sense in which on our journey of life, if we can somehow get into the habit of ignoring that statement, that somehow being human is bad, we might start seeing Christ on our journey much more. And I'll tell you where we will start seeing Christ: in other kinds of human beings that so wonderfully created and restored by Jesus. Are y'all following me on that? All right, now, look on page 845 of the prayer book. We're going to have to learn something. This is more you need to take on your journey. Okay? This is more page 845. I can still remember, Stephen, when I used to preach early on when I was young, all of a sudden I would get up and say, don't forget, folks, and I'd get from the pulpit and say this, talking about arrogant. I'd get up and say, I'm just human. Have you ever wondered what else could I be but human? But when I said I'm just human, I was trying to say on ordinary times and most times I'm really a little bit better than human. But if I make a mistake, I'm just human. How many of y'all have ever said that when you made a mistake? Well, I'm just human. No, you're a human being that made a mistake. How's that? Isn't that better? I'm a human being wonderfully created by God and wonderfully restored by Jesus, and I made a mistake. Anybody made a mistake before? How many made some whoppers? Yeah. Okay. And yet, in the meantime, God is saying, but you're so wonderfully created, I'm there with you, and so help me, I'll never leave you. Now, you got it at 845. What is the very first little chapter of that catechism? What's the title? Human nature. Oh, really? Imagine that. I never thought about that. Now, I'm going to read a question and you answer me. This may be give you some insight on what human nature is. What are we by nature? We are part of God's creation, made in the image of God. Oh, my word. Isn't that amazing? Now, we're not above creation, are we? We're a part of God's creation. And how are we made? In the image of God. Wow. Now, that's something that we need to put in our pockets all the time. Every time we're taking any kind of journey, whether we're going to work, whether we're going to school, it doesn't matter. That's a good thing to remember. Would you agree? Yeah. Now, I'm going to go to the next one, just in case it's not clear. What does it mean to be created in the image of God?
It means that we are free to make choices, to love, to create, to reason, and to live in harmony with creation and with God.
You mean we're free to choose God, huh? We're free to love one another, aren't we? Why are we free? Because that's our nature. That's what God did for us and with us and in us. We're free to love. We're free to what? Not to love. Right? So I think that there's a great sense in which we also are free to create. How many of you have created something? I'll tell you who creates the best. 2 and 3 and 4-year-olds. Because they get posted on refrigerator doors, their artwork, and they get shown everywhere until what comes along? Their art teacher. No, no, that's not so. There comes a point in time where the freedom to draw what I believe as a young one, until we get that out of them, until one day you got to toe the line, all right? Now, okay, just in case you thought I was saying that all things are well, I'm going to go to the next question. Why then do we live apart from God and out of harmony with creation? From the beginning,
human beings have misused their freedom and made wrong choices.
Again, I may ask, anybody made any wrong choices? How about yesterday? Any wrong? Yeah, see, that's what it means to live in this world as God's child. But if knowing that, we have something else in our backpack, if you will, on our journey, and what we have in our backpack is a whole mess of forgiveness. You understand what I'm saying? Now, just in case we don't get the idea that we're wonderfully created by God and restored into that grace, I want you to find this in the pew in front of you. There's a little bookmark. You can take it home with you. There should be enough for everybody. Okay? These are all little gifts for the journey. Okay? This is a gift for the journey. Has everybody got that? Mm-hmm. Right under the gifts given at baptism. Remember, now y'all watch. I'm gonna go on a journey back all the way backward in time, back to that place right there where the baptismal font is. Use that as a beginning point so that we can remember it every day that we start out in Him. Pow! Get some water. I love to get wet, all of us wet. Wouldn't that be good? I used to do holy water when we'd go down, and I want to make sure everybody got wet so we could remember it is through the water of life that we're renewed again and again. We need to remember that. But let me tell you what happens when we're baptized. According to the Episcopal Church, according to our theology, read that first one. Ready? I am buried with Christ in His death. Wow. It doesn't say I am buried with me in my death, does it? Think about that. I'm not buried with me in my death. I'm buried with who? Is that good news? See, to be buried with Him, and that's what every time we have a baptism, and we get the cute little kids that don't know anything at all that's going on. They're just having it done unto them, just like Jesus went with His daddy and mama to Egypt. They were totally at the parents' disposal at that point. Now, what's the next one? I share in His resurrection. Oh, my word. Do I have to wait for the resurrection? Does it mean possibly that I'm sharing in it as we speak? Not fully, but I've been buried with Christ, and I share in His resurrection. Whoa. Go to the next one. I am reborn by the Holy Spirit. That means I have a new being. Remember what the collect said? So wonderfully restored the dignity. That's what being reborn again in the Holy Spirit means. Is that we're a new creature, a new creation. Now, why do I need the next one in my backpack as I'm going down the journey? Let's say it together. I have been forgiven the forgiveness of sin and raised to new life. Love and forgiveness, saved by grace, a sinner am I, that old song goes. There's something about knowing I have been forgiven. What do you think about the reality of in that action of Jesus coming on the scene as a baby? And you know where His journey will eventually lead, huh? It'll be on the cross. He's not finished with His journey even then. But there's something about this. Try to wrap your head around this. Before you ever sin, you've already got the forgiveness. What do you think? Before you even think about it, you've already gotten it. What most of us do, and I'm just talking about me more than anybody else, is that's too much to bear. I've got to grovel and see how sorry I am and how lousy I am. Oh, I hope I can get some forgiveness. As opposed to saying, God, I'm sorry. I've already got your forgiveness. Let me get on with my life. I don't do that often. Do you understand the difference? We can grovel and grovel till we can somehow get a little piece of forgiveness from God. Isn't that how we normally kind of play with it? Oh, I'm just so sorry, God. You're forgiven. As opposed to say, I'm so sorry, God. I've already gotten your forgiveness. Now let me show you what I mean by that, and then I go do something different. Now, everybody take this finger. Remember what the kids did? They stuck their finger in the water. Just play like, we don't have any water there. Just play like you have water in front of you. Then when you bleep, you got to be a kid to do this, you know. And then I want you just one shot. Pow. Right there. Now read that last one. Those 5 little gifts to put in your backpack, those kind of gifts, those kinds of wisdom pieces can, when we get into making bad decisions and bad choices and going in all directions, if we can just stop long enough just to, okay, I'm buried with Christ. I'm marked as Christ's own forever. Okay? Then for those of you that are just dying to make choices, take this home with you, and there's plenty in the pews. Read over your gifts. But then, as a thanksgiving act, an act of thanksgiving, just read the bottom down there and do one of them this week, okay? Just do one of them, all right? So wonderfully created you are, so wonderfully restored in your own human dignity you are. And I think that's worth an amen. Amen.